stories in this news edition. Hello, welcome to ETV News. With the news, I'm Shamal Islam. Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister of Ethiopia, Demeqa Mekonnen, said the government has been working to ensure delivery of humanitarian services and improve the situation in Tigray. Kasawan Chane presents the story.
Demeqa said to the African Union foreign ministers at the 38th African Union Executive Council meeting while delivering briefings on the relevant current issues in a country, particularly in Tigray region. He also explained the reconstruction and rehabilitation, capacity enhancement and peace building efforts of the interim government of Tigray. According to the Deputy Prime Minister, food and non-food items were delivered for more than 1.8 million beneficiaries, aimed at addressing more than 2.5 million beneficiaries across the region, as lucky banking service, market failure, and pending salary payments are forced to cover a greater number of beneficiaries. He said for efficient and effective delivery of humanitarian assistance, the Emergency Coordination Center has been established at Mekelle, comprising of relevant line ministries, regional bureaus, United Nations agencies, bilateral and international NGOs. According to Demeqa, the federal government is working on mobilizing resources for the recovery and rehabilitation of damaged and destroyed economic and social infrastructures. The Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister also said refuge in the region are one of the priority areas of the government to maintain their safety and security and ensure the continuous supply of food and non-food items. Besides, in order that in the refuge camps where access and issues are related to safety and security, and the government has taken immediate action by relocating and maintaining basic humanitarian services.
Experts call upon media professionals to play a share for the success of the coming sixth national elections in the country. The Prime Minister's office organized Addis Work Dialogue on the role of media and communication in election process where various stakes attended. Kasawan Chane again for the details on that.
Speaking on the occasion, experts say effective communication way matters to conduct peaceful election in a country. They call upon the media to focus on relevant contents in a way that contributes something to the fair flow of information.
To communicate with people, there must be great care on the language we use. Communication is successful when there is communication, reading, correct interpretation, and proper expression. Messages in the media are grounded, and if the mentioned content is not included, it may be problematic by providing a different interpretation and understanding than intended. Great care must be taken when making it accessible to masses. Audiences are the only listeners. The electorate, the ones who take the information for granted, they do not understand all the information provided, and they only remember a few things that are close to their heart.
When an election comes, most of the time there are many untouchable things like peace and security. We must remember that we are a group with a group of identity, and we must promote individual freedom, recognizing that election is a personal decision. The psychological structure of accepting and losing is also difficult. Winning is considered to be the younger brother of death. The grace of defeat and the responsibility of victory are identical. One is required to have a grace to accept quash in elections. It is important to understand that winning is not about gaining power, but about leading. Accepting defeat seems like the end of all competitions, so we don't want to plan. Candidates should be good role models as they follow the example of the person they choose. Although the party and the administration have changed, we need to be aware that the country and the government will continue, and we must be careful not to destroy the temporary. An election must be handled with care as it is a matter of urgency, and everyone must be safe. It is also legal to take this into account. As a community, our training is also reflected in our lack of support for the security forces.
Addis Ababa University College of Arts Dean Ezra Abatta on his part said art is an idea to make ideas more accessible, while artists express their ideas in different ways and audiences develop their understanding through education.
ወደ ህብረተሰቡ ሲደርሱ ሊፈጥሩ የሚችሉት
Artists express their ideas in different ways and audiences develop their understandings through learning. In the world of wisdom, some professionals use their wisdom for evil purposes and on the other hand, for the benefit of the people. Communication can be effective if artists present their work in a way that community can understand. Art is an excellent tool for resolving conflicts in any situation and bringing them to unity and solidarity.
Gitan Hermo, chemical engineer, has also stated that chemistry is one of the factors that determine the color.
2019 ላይ የናይጄሪያው ፕሬዝዳንት
When Nigeria undertook election in 2019, it was the music industry which played a great role to mobilize the people. Color is one of the factors that determine acceptance. Science tells us that people decide whether to look or not in just 60 seconds, including the choice of symbols. Color creates a sense of belonging and people get information about reality by looking at them. Therefore, various national significant signs, including our election symbols, need to be prepared within an understanding of human psychology.
Various political parties have already been registered to take part in upcoming Ethiopia's general election to be held in the upcoming June.
Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Ethiopia to Sudan, Yibelt Al-Amro, said Sudan made a historic blunder when it invaded Ethiopia's territory. Sudan's action is wrongful both morally and legally in the light of its long-standing and historical relationship with Ethiopia, he underlined. Demis Makria has more on that.
Plenipotentiary Ambassador of Ethiopia to Sudan, Yibelt Al-Amro, said Sudan made a historic blunder when it encroached the territory of Ethiopia. He underlined Sudan's action is wrong both in moral and legal ground in the sight of its long-standing and historical relationship with Ethiopia. Ambassador Yibelt Al said that Sudan's wrongful act is also against the exchange of notes agreed between the two countries in 1972.
There should be, and we must look for amicable solutions which can be accepted by governments of both countries before surrounding the border again. Now, what the Sudanese government did is that displacing the Ethiopians from the area where they were allowed to live by infracting exchange of notes which the two countries have agreed before. This is the first thing that they displaced our citizens, defying the 1972 agreement, which is a remarkable stumble historically. Second, border issues should always be solved only peacefully through discussion. But their forceful encroachment and attack transgresses the agreement between both countries and the international system.
Sudan forces demolished properties and claimed lives of Ethiopians in wide border encroachment and caused to the country damage equal to an estimated amount of 1 billion birr, he said.
The attack is inflicted in wide area of land. It includes looting of agricultural production of the farmers, looting of agricultural machineries and tools used in military camps. According to the officials in the area, total cost of all these losses is about 1 billion birr. Indeed, this requires detailed research. Based on the results of the research, we are going to ask for the compensation from the Sudanese government on coming negotiations in the near future.
Ethiopia is still in a position to address the border dispute with peaceful mechanism, the ambassador said, adding the nation will be obliged to defend its rights otherwise.
Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister Demeke Mekonnen asks why Ethiopia has never assumed a commissioner position in the AU, though it is a founding member of the organization. For his satisfaction, Professor Hirut Waldemariam has fostered a portfolio to emerge in the candidate list of commissioner position to serve Africa. Demeke has extended his testimonial to Hirut to assume the position and serve the continent's entire Tamrat reports.
The Ethiopian Ministry of Foreign Affairs has hosted an event to introduce Professor Hirut Waldemariam to heads of mission of African countries and other regional and global organizations. The session celebrated achievements of Professor Hirut Waldemariam, who is running for the position of AU's Commissioner for Education, Science, Technology and Innovation. Addressing the gathering, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Dammaqe Mokonnin commended the AU commitment to address the continent's development challenges. He appreciated Professor Hirut Waldemariam, who has fostered portfolio to emerge in the candidate list of commissioner position to serve Africa. Dammaqe also lauded Hirut's contribution in multidisciplinary research and publication.
She has a rich experience in the portfolio as academician, as a scientist, as a leader, as a reformer, and as a member of public diplomacy group. I believe her qualities and experiences so far make her the best fit not only to lead the Commission, but to use it to serve the advancement of our continent. She has spent her life breaking invisible glass ceilings and achieving numerous firsts as a pioneer woman in leadership and holding highest academic rank. She has proven being multitasked and succeeding in all platforms, engaged in international research networks, and published about 3,000 peer-reviewed articles in international academic journals on a range of subjects.
Mentioning Ethiopia has never assumed a commissioner position in the AU, though it is a founding member of the organization, Dammaqe underlined this is time to Ethiopia to serve the continent through that position.
Being a founding member of our prestigious institutions, OAU, AU, and hosting the institutions in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia has never got the opportunity to take part in a high position. Ethiopia has presented an eminently qualified full professor candidate, endowed with rich experience in the portfolio as an instructor, researcher, publisher, leader, and creating networks.
Expressing her visions to the audience, Professor Hirut said she has a plan to avail inclusive, Africa-relevant education for all.
Our education, science and technology, it has to fit, it has to align with the socio-economic demands of the continent. We have to make sure that it aligns well, that we are producing graduates who can fit to the 21st century job market, globally and continentally and nationally as well. We have to make sure that we are nurturing innovation and technology that solves our problem, that changes quality of life of our society. We're lagging far behind as far as I'm concerned on this. My vision is, Excellencies, to enable inclusive, Africa-relevant and high-quality education for all, and to foster Africa-relevant, deep culture of innovation and technology that can unleash, unblock the potential of African youth.
Ethiopia's eminent historian, Professor Bahru Zawde, for his part, congratulated Hirut on her candidature and mentioned few of her contributions to the academic arena.
The third point is about the crisis of African higher education, which she wants to address. I think she's probably the best person to address it. In March 2015, there was a big conference, international conference on higher education in Dakar, organized by CODESRA and Trust Africa. I happen to be a member of the organizing committee. Something like over 500 participants came, and it lasted something like 3 days, and a number of recommendations. A big major declaration was made at that time on issues of differentiation, in issues of research, equitability, equitable access, and all that kind of thing. And that declaration actually was taken by the president of Senegal, who was one of the hosts, to the African Union meeting in Johannesburg in June the same year. But not much has been done after that, particularly at the level of dissemination at the country level and implementation of the very important recommendations, including action plans. So this is probably going to be your first task when you assume the office, as I hope you would. Finally, she has been first in so many respects. But I think there's one first that remains. That's to be the first Ethiopian to be AU commissioner. Ethiopia is not only the founding member, Ethiopia is the founder of the OAU. If it were not for Emperor Haile Selassie, the OAU would not have existed.
Policy Matters is a conversation platform which aims to provide reasoned analysis and context to the activities, reforms, and policies of the federal government of Ethiopia. Exploring various reforms the government is undertaking, the conversation platform aspires to enable nuanced and informed understanding.
Transport is one of the sectors which is very close for innovative solutions. But as a country, the whole system that we used to have has been rigid, but it has to be as flexible as possible to address the needs of our people.
We are aware that there are a series of transformational interventions in the logistics sector. How would you measure your success for the intervention?
The establishment of the National Logistics Council, as per the direction indicated in the logistics policy, is one of the major big steps that we have taken as a government, because logistics is all about everything.
The renowned historian Ayele Bekere suggested African nations to include more indigenous knowledge in their curriculum systems than imitating Western culture or structure. Ayele said this generation ought to fight cultural colonization and its false narratives towards the African continent. Goshu Melissa reports.
The looting of African natural resources has been studied. However, the looting of African knowledge didn't yet get much attention as needed. That's why Africans have been looking for something reversible ways through their union, setting Agenda 2063, where culture and heritage get prioritized. One of the renowned historians, Dr. Ayele Bekere, suggested African nations to include indigenous knowledge in their curriculum system than imitating Western structure.
When we talk about colonialism, we're not talking about just stripping resources. We're talking about also cultural colonialism. As you pointed out, colonization means appropriation, expropriation, taking away your heritage. And then, keep it in British Museum or Paris Museum or any one of those European museums out of context, because those cultural artifacts, like the ones that you mentioned, for instance, manuscripts, would have relevance only in the context of Ethiopian culture, Ethiopian history, Ethiopian religion. And then when you take it out of context, then it becomes what? A merchandise to buy and sell, okay? So two things ought to happen. First, I think the most important thing is the way we kind of developed curriculum for our schools, be it at elementary level, high school level, or university level. It's practically imitation of European school system or imitation of American system, okay? It doesn't take into consideration our own way of seeing things, thinking about things, framing things, or the art that we developed. We lost their values because our educational system doesn't allow us to kind of deeply immerse ourselves into our heritages. So therefore, I think we have to do two things. One, to really re-examine the curriculum and see to what extent that curriculum incorporates indigenous educational system, okay? Our own values, our own way of looking at things, our way of socialization, our games, all that has to be transformed into scientific knowledge, thereby enabling our children, our kids to appreciate those heritages, those cultures. That's one thing. The second thing is that we have to fight for cultural repatriation. Cultural repatriation means all those artifacts, manuscripts, and all other precious heritage items that were taken to Europe during colonialism ought to be returned back to their sources. I think that movement has already started. For example, we were able to fight and become victorious for the return of the Aksum Stela.
Ayele told that colonizers not only took away precious resources, but also culture and heritages of Africa.
Those colonizers, when they came, they not only took away the gold, the oil, or the cash crop, they also took away all the cultural heritage items, thereby denying Africans as if like they don't have any value, any knowledge outside of what the Europeans are introducing to them. So therefore, in that context, I think to focus on culture is very important, because if the youth has a sense of appreciating not only the past, but the heritage, then I think we will have at least a sense of responsibility, a sense of kind of being proud of our own culture, our own heritage, thereby at least diminishing the danger of us just for minor things, engaging in prolonged war, prolonged conflict, prolonged fight. That comes out of the fact that we don't have a great deal of appreciation of ourselves and then the heritages that we've developed, that we've invented, that we've made it to be a source of our coming together.
Reintroduce history at different levels of education system is the right move, he noted.
The National Intelligence and Security Service said Ethiopian security forces have foiled planned terrorist attack on UAE embassy in Addis Ababa. According to statement of the security service, 15 suspects were apprehended while planning to carry out the attack on the embassy after taking mission from overseas terrorist groups. The plan was intended to inflict huge loss of lives and drench the city's good image. The suspects were arrested in a joint operation carried out by the security services, the Federal Police Commission and other security organs, it indicated. According to the statement, heavy weapons, explosive materials and various documents were also seized during the operation.